Most football players spend hundreds of dollars on equipment they believe is making them better. Some of it is, most of it is not. And 7 of the most popular brands on the market right now are actively making you slower, weaker, and more exposed to injury on every single play. Vapor Edge Pro 360, the most marketed football cleat in the sport, the one on every skill position player's Instagram, on every NFL sideline, on every sporting goods wall from August through January. The Vapor Edge is built for natural grass with 6 large conical studs engineered to penetrate and release from natural turf. On grass, it does what it promises. But right now, 56.8% of NFL games from 2020 to 2023 were played on artificial turf, and the majority of high school practice fields across America are artificial. On artificial turf, those 6 large studs do not release cleanly. They grip too hard, too long. Players wearing grass-specific cleats on turf show measurable hamstring strain patterns from overgripping, with their calves working harder to compensate for inconsistent traction. You have to realize that overgripping is not a training issue, it is a traction mismatch issue. Artificial turf was associated with 61.1% of knee ligament tears in data from 2020 to 2023. The cleat on the wrong surface is not a neutral choice. It is an active injury mechanism. You are not wearing a fast cleat on turf. You are wearing a cleat that is actively breaking you on the one surface most American programs play on. The Riddell Speed Flex, already on the NFL prohibited list, already covered in a previous video on this channel, but the performance angle has never been fully addressed, and it is the one that affects every player who still wears it, even the ones who think they are not worried about safety. A helmet that does not fit correctly moves on your head. The SpeedFlex fatigue system relies on an inflatable liner that degrades with temperature. In cold weather, the pressure drops. In humidity, the liner changes shape. Equipment managers on Football Scoop forums document the same pattern. SpeedFlex helmets that fit in August do not fit in October without recalibration that most programs do not perform. Right now, a helmet that shifts on contact is not just a safety problem. It is a vision problem. When a helmet moves even millimeters on impact, the face mask moves relative to the eyes. The peripheral vision window that a quarterback uses to locate a receiver in the flat is now misaligned by exactly the amount the helmet moved. You have to realize that helmet fit is a performance variable, not just a safety variable. Every block alignment absorbs in a helmet that shifts is a play where their target window moves. A helmet that moves on your head is not protecting your head, it is protecting the idea of your head. Oversized shoulder pads. This is not a problem with one brand, it is a sizing decision every major brand enables by default by setting their charts to maximum coverage rather than position-specific mobility. Standard sizing from most brands measure your chest and add 2 inches, produces a pad that restricts the throwing shoulder's range of motion by 12 to 15 degrees in external rotation. This is documented in motion capture analysis of quarterbacks and receivers wearing pads one size too large. Right now, most youth and high school players are fitted in oversized pads because coaches and parents equate coverage with protection. Bigger feels safer. Bigger is not safer if the restricted motion means a receiver cannot fully extend on a back shoulder fade. Remember, catch radius is a function of shoulder mobility. A pad that restricts external rotation by 12 degrees eliminates the outside edge of the catch window entirely. Some of those balls that bounced off fingertips in the back of the end zone were geometry problems, not skill problems. The pad removed the geometry. The pads that feel the most protective are often the ones doing the most damage to the mechanics that keep you on the field. If you have been watching and have not subscribed, here's why this channel exists. We cover what the equipment industry does not measure for you. Subscribe. The next 3 brands include a mouthguard that is reducing your oxygen intake on every play and a compression product that is doing the opposite of what the label says. It only gets more expensive from here. Generic football cleats. The $35 to $50 option on Amazon. The ones that photograph like real cleats and describe themselves with real cleat language. A real football cleat requires a position-specific last, an engineered traction plate for lateral cutting forces, and upper materials that resist the rotational loads of a plant and drive movement. A $40 generic cleat has the shape of a cleat and the stud count of a cleat. The engineering stops there. But right now, parents are buying these for youth players based on Amazon price rankings. The listing looks real, the product photograph looks real, until you realize what the first cut reveals. On the first aggressive lateral cut, a generic cleat with no traction plate engineering produces ground reaction forces that travel directly into the ankle and knee. No mechanism to absorb or redirect them. That is not discomfort. That is the beginning of a sprain on a play that should have been routine. There is no engineering in a $40 cleat. There is only the shape of a cleat and the price of a cleat. The field knows the difference in the first cut. The Under Armour Highlight MC, the high ankle cleat that defined a generation of skill position players and was genuinely excellent when it launched 3 to 4 product generations ago. The Highlight MC launched with the most advanced ankle support system in consumer football equipment. Under Armour has since released the Blur Smoke, the Spotlight, and the Clone, all using flexible, form-fitting materials that do not restrict lateral ankle motion the way a rigid cuff does. Right now, the Highlight's rigid ankle cuff limits lateral ankle flexion to approximately 5 degrees. The full cutting motion requires 8 to 12 degrees. The Blur Smoke's knit cuff allows the full range. Think about what 3 to 7 degrees of ankle mobility costs a slot receiver on a crossing route at full speed. The rigid cuff is not providing protection during lateral cuts. It is providing resistance. The player compensates by generating the cut from the knee, which is less powerful, less efficient, and places higher load on a joint that cannot afford it. Under Armour designed the Highlight for a game that was played 4 years ago. The players who still wear it are paying for nostalgia with the currency of lateral speed. Cheap mouth guards. The $5 to $12 boil and bite option that came in the package or was bought in a 3-pack at the grocery store. A mouthguard that does not fit correctly against the upper teeth will sit loosely against the palate. The jaw registers this instability and responds by clenching. A constant low-level tension in the masseter and temporalis muscles that stabilizes the mouthguard against the bite surface. Research from dental performance studies shows that jaw clenching restricts the airway by limiting the jaw forward position that maximizes the pharyngeal airway diameter. A properly fitted mouthguard positions the jaw forward and opens the airway. The difference in peak oxygen intake between the two positions has been measured at up to 20%. Until you realize that 20% of oxygen intake is not a dental health statistic. It is a fourth quarter stamina statistic. A player breathing at 80% capacity in the final drive is not losing conditioning. They are losing it to a $7 piece of plastic. A mouthguard that does not fit correctly does not protect your jaw. It trains your jaw to clench against it. You are not just losing tooth protection, you are losing the last 2 minutes of every close game. Wrong compression gear. This is a category every sports brand has entered because the margins are high and the feedback loop is slow, so players rarely connect the equipment to the outcome. Compression gear works through graduated pressure, tighter at the extremity and looser toward the core, supporting venous return at 15 to 25 millimeters of mercury at the ankle, 10 to 15 at the calf, and 8 to 12 at the thigh. But right now, most consumer football compression products do not publish their pressure gradients. The ones that do frequently show flat compression, the same pressure from ankle to thigh, which does not support venous return. It impedes it. A flat compression sleeve applying consistent inward pressure to a muscle already generating internal pressure from exertion is not recovery support. It reduces circulation when circulation is most critical. Until you realize that compression gear that fits too tight does not enhance your circulation. It restricts it. You are wearing a recovery tool as a tourniquet. A lineman who wore flat compression sleeves through a 2-hour August practice and felt their legs go dead in the fourth quarter was not out of shape. They were out of circulation. The sleeve was the reason. And the brand on the label is not the one paying your medical bills. Now, 3 brands that actually make you better. The Nike Alpha Menace Elite 3. Nike's most honest football product, the cleat they built for power positions, while the marketing department focused entirely on the Vapor Edge. The Alpha Menace Elite 3 features a wide last that matches the actual foot shape of linemen, linebackers, tight ends, and running backs. The X-frame traction plate distributes ground reaction force across a wider surface. Each cut generates more usable force into forward movement rather than ground absorption. The Vapor Edge minimizes time between foot contact and the next step for a straight line receiver. The Alpha Menace maximizes force available during a drive block or a tackle break. Different positions, different physics. The player using the wrong one is not using a suboptimal tool. They are using a tool designed for someone else's body. Nike built the Vapor Edge for the broadcast. They built the Alpha Menace for the position. One of those decisions shows up on the scoreboard. The Vitis 02, the most expensive helmet on this list, priced between $950 and $1,500. The one that topped every position-specific safety ranking in the 2025 NFL and NFLPA annual report. And the one with a performance benefit the safety data alone does not capture. The Vitis 02 uses a multi-layer flexible outer shell that deforms on impact. DLTA pods allow FIT adjustment with interchangeable thicknesses. The helmet fits correctly in August and in January because the fit system does not depend on temperature-sensitive air pressure the way the SpeedFlex does. But the performance benefit of the Vitis 02 is not in the materials. It is in what those materials produce in the player wearing them. A player who trusts their helmet makes contact differently than one who does not. The Vitis 02 is the only helmet where the safety data is strong enough to produce that trust in a player who has read it. A player who trusts their helmet plays differently than a player who is afraid of contact. Vicus charges $950. The performance benefit of playing without fear does not have a price tag. The EvoShield Pro SRZ mouthguard, $30. The cheapest item on this list and the highest return on investment of any equipment purchase in football. EvoShield's gel-to-shell material softens in warm water and then hardens to the shape of the upper teeth and jaw position within minutes. The resulting fit holds the jaw forward, maximizing pharyngeal airway diameter, and replicates what sports performance dentists charge hundreds of dollars to achieve. A player wearing the EvoShield is breathing at capacity in the fourth quarter. A player wearing a $7 Boil and Bite is not. The difference is not fitness, it is jaw position. Your mouthguard is the only piece of equipment that affects how much oxygen reaches your brain on every single play. EvoShield charges $30. That is the cheapest performance upgrade on any equipment list in football. 7 brands, 3 solutions. The pattern across all of them is the same. The brands built something that works, but only in specific conditions, for specific positions, and at specific pressure gradients. The equipment industry does not disclose those conditions. It sells you the product, and it lets the field explain the rest. Ask the question before you buy. Was this designed for how I actually play? Drop a comment with the equipment that surprised you most on this list. Subscribe. Know what you are paying for before you pay for it. The game deserves better than the marketing. See you in the next one.